Hey, welcome back, boys and girls of the internet. Here I am again with a look at the Frostfire Phoenix that I was really excited to build last week. And I did put this thing together, but a little bit differently. Instead of doing the horizontal look here, I laid them up vertically, like this. So I used some sculpting putty to attach them to that rock, which actually comes from the Skycutter Chariot piece. And I really like how this is dynamic. Also got a little bit of a stone out of my backyard to weigh it down so it doesn't get so tipsy, but it's lightweight enough that works. You'll also notice that I inverted the wings so that they're curling down instead of upwards. But the other thing that I spoke of last week that I'm quite looking forward to is trying to make something out of the other parts left over, the wings, the tail, the head of the Flamespyre Phoenix. So I think I've really come together with this. I'm going to use the Isle of Blood griffin that probably many of us high elf people have left over. Now I'm afraid I don't have a pointer to work this out on the video screen for you. I'm a little bit technologically challenged, but what I'm going to try to indicate here is what we need to do is we need to lop off that guy's head, we need to chop off the rider, and shave this back end behind the feathering so that we can fit in the rest of the bits to go in the backside. When we flip it over here, you'll see this one's a little bit easier, but maybe cleaner. So get rid of those little bits on top, and then again behind the feathery rib cage we're going to shave that off so that we can fit in other parts. I am going to have the anointed on here, so using the rotary tool I can cut that off, then replace it with the anointed bits that actually come in the kit. The tricky bit here is going to come in with the wings. Now after the second tier of wings is where we're going to have to start shaving and chopping. When we do that, and it does take a little bit of Dremel tooling to make it happen, and you have to be a little bit careful, you can see here that it looks like it's finally going to come together. And this is what I first envisioned and where it's going to show the promise that I wanted it to. As we're going to find out a little bit later, it is a little bit gappy and requires a little bit of fiddly work to make it happen, but it will come together. So back to this. This little tail end bit with the feathers, not absolutely necessary, but comes from the Skycutter, and we're going to use that to fill the back end. When we look at all the bits arrayed here, and I apologize it looks a little bit messy, but you can see there that the wings are shaved off. They're going to fit with the Flamespyre bits that come together. The head is ready to go. The rider bits are there, a little bit of extra flame on the backside, and the tail. This can all attach. So here we move into the start of assembly, and what we've just done here is attach the head, the little bit of extra fire on the backside, on the spine. The tail will go there, and we started to do a little bit of flame sculpting to join the head and the back end of the body. Here's where the wing assembly starts to happen, and although it looks a little bit gappy and probably even a little bit more so here on the underside, it is something that we're going to be able to work with. Here's where we start to get into assembly and sculpting. Now the good thing about the sculpting on this is that flame and fire is pretty simple and it's forgiving. So I just laid a bead of sausage down here, and then with two ends of my sculpting putty pull it in two different directions, and that's how we start to get relief. Here you can maybe see a little bit more clearly of how we're starting to get relief in that fire and joining the wings to the trailing flame. Start to bulk out the underneath here, and I haven't started into the underside of the wings here either. A little small touch here is we got a little bit of extra pieces from the wings themselves that can fill out the back end of there that we've sculpted in. Here we're getting more action out of the wings, and I've put a second bead on here to just make that a little bit more smooth. From the underside, this was the first bead that was laid down, and you can see that it's not really smooth yet, but that's okay. I'm going to add another bead, and we can see here that as it goes on thicker, that really does come together a little bit better. Now, as we move on to the next slide here, this is really the final assembly. So we bulked it out with a little bit more sculpting putty to make the fire a little bit thicker and smoother. Kind of put some more on the spine to make that wider and join in the tail. And this is effectively the final assembly of what this is going to look like. I will do the rider to finish this off and then get into the painting of it. So I hope that this does something to inspire you guys, make you realize that maybe you spent a whole lot of money on one Phoenix, but you get an extra guy, and if you got the extra bits around, you got an extra Phoenix. Please enjoy. Hope it inspires you, and good day.